6 penalties. One team principal who spent the entire season staying diplomatic about every single one of them. And then, all at once, he stopped. What Fred Vasseur said after the Monaco timing line detail came out is not the sound of a man managing headlines anymore. It's the sound of a man who has decided silence is no longer the safer option. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Ferrari's own data now contradicts 6 separate decisions issued against Lewis Hamilton this season, and why the question everyone in the paddock is asking isn't really about Hamilton at all. It's about who signed off on the system measuring him. Keep that question in mind. It comes back at the end. Start with what actually happened, told with no adjectives attached because the facts alone do the work here. Earlier this season, at Monaco, the physical barrier used to measure pit lane speed was shifted by 77 centimeters. Nobody caught it publicly at the time. Races kept happening, penalties kept landing, 6 of them across the year, each one built on data from timing systems nobody outside the team had reason to question. Only once the Monaco detail surfaced, buried inside a technical report almost no one read on release, did anyone go back and ask whether those 6 decisions had ever been measured from the right place to begin with. If you want the stories the paddock doesn't put in a press release, subscribe right now and tell me in the comments which country you're watching from, because what comes next depends entirely on whether you already trust these systems or not. This is not a rival engineer briefing a journalist off the record. This is the principal of Ferrari, a team with more championships than anyone else on the grid, standing in front of cameras and directly contradicting a governing body's own measurements. Go back to the Silverstone false start first. Ferrari's sensors recorded 0 movement on the grid. The stewards issued a 5-second penalty anyway, based on a tire rotation of 42 millimeters spotted only on a second look at onboard footage. Vasseur was asked point-blank if this was his driver's mistake. He didn't hedge. "You are a bit harsh," he told the media, and then explained plainly that the sensors said the car never moved. So take the official version apart. Did Ferrari's own equipment detect the car moving before the lights went out? No. Did the stewards apply the penalty regardless? Yes. Was the entire justification a measurement 42 millimeters wide, smaller than the width of a hand? Yes. Would that measurement hold up as proof of a jump start under any other governing body standard? Nobody covering this technically has said yes to that yet. Now, put 2 moments from this season next to each other and read them in the exact same flat tone, because that's the only way this stops being a feeling and starts being a pattern. In Hungary, Vasseur accepted a penalty over 1/10 of a kilometer per hour, calling it, in his own words, a big delta when a weekend is already going wrong. Read that next to the fact that a physical measurement line, earlier the same season, had moved by 77 centimeters without anyone noticing for months. Neither fact alone proves the Hungary penalty was wrong. But side by side, they raise a question that doesn't go away with an apology. If one line moved undetected, what confidence does anyone actually have in every other reading taken from every other line this year? And if you're not subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of story you'll want to be here for. Because with 12 races still on the calendar, this isn't the last time it comes up. Here's what the numbers cost, in terms that actually matter. That 5-second penalty at Silverstone was served standing still, before a mechanic touched the car. Remove it, and the finishing gap isn't what the official result says it is. Widen that across all 6 incidents currently sitting under review in a title fight, where Hamilton is 50 points behind Kimi Antonelli. 50 points looks like a wall from a distance. Take out 2 or 3 of these penalties, recalculate the positions he'd have held, and the wall starts looking a lot more like a gap that can still close. Here's where this stops being about one driver and starts being about the system underneath him. Modern stewarding leans harder every season on sensors and measurements down to fractions of a centimeter. The panel judging these calls rotates race to race. Regulations shift mid-season, and underneath all of it sits physical infrastructure that, at least once this year, moved by 77 centimeters without anyone signing off on a recheck before a single car crossed that line. When the equipment measuring an offense hasn't been checked with the same rigor as the offense itself, the question stops being about Hamilton's season. It becomes about who approved that line staying where it was for as long as it did. A lot of you asked under the last video whether one faulty sensor could really shift a championship. Here's where that question actually leads. It's not really about one sensor. It's about the chain of people who had to check that line and didn't, and whether anyone in that chain has been asked to explain it publicly yet. To be fair to the other side of this, because the strongest version of this video includes it, there's an argument that holds up on its own. Margins in Formula 1 have always been unforgiving. If the limit is 80 kilometers per hour, 80.1 is over it, no matter how small it feels standing in the garage. Rules exist, so nobody argues their way around a number after the fact. That's a defensible position. It's also not the one that survives sitting next to a timing line that has already been proven wrong once, this same season. What comes next is the part nobody in race control wanted said out loud. Before I give it to you, subscribe, because this story has a second half, and it's close, not far off. Would any of these 6 penalties have existed if the equipment measuring them had been checked before the season started? Nothing in the written reasoning confirms it either way. That's not proven, and I'm not going to pretend that it is. It's simply the question anyone watching this is entitled to keep asking until someone with a name attached answers it. Here's the verdict. Vasseur didn't push back this hard because Ferrari lost a race. He pushed back because 6 separate rulings, spread across an entire season, now sit next to a timing line that physically moved without anyone catching it in time, and because the man whose job is to defend his driver realized the pattern he'd been accepting quietly might not have been random at all. What's still genuinely open is this. Nobody has confirmed whether the other 5 penalties trace back to the same kind of error found at Monaco. Nobody has said who is responsible for checking that line in the first place, or whether they still have that job. That's not something this video is going to guess at. That's simply where things stand right now. So tell me directly. When a measurement system fails once and 6 penalties come out of the same season it failed in, who should actually answer for that? The stewards who applied the penalties, or whoever signed off on the equipment they used to justify them? Say which one in the comments, because that's the actual argument here, not which driver you like more. Zandvoort is next, and it's the first race since this detail became public. Whatever gets explained or doesn't get explained, before those cars turn a wheel, there will tell you whether anyone is actually going to answer for this, or whether it quietly disappears over the summer break. Subscribe now, because the moment anyone official responds, I'm covering it before anyone else does. Like this video if you think somebody needs to be named here, and until the next one.